Each week leading up to Election Day, we are discussing a measure on the statewide ballot or a local measure. But this week, since we are getting close, we thought maybe we would double up, especially since there are two measures on the statewide ballot that have to do with those who face or are already convicted of crimes. Proposition 128 would make people convicted of violent crimes stay in prison longer by ensuring that they serve more time before they're eligible for parole. And then there is Amendment I on the ballot, which would overrule and negate a state Supreme Court decision that said everyone who is charged with a crime should be offered bail, and that including those who are facing murder charges. So, Krista, a lot to unpack.
Well, this is one of those reasons that I so oppose the initiative process, is that we have things in place for this. We have parole boards. If there is a problem with the parole board, and I don't think the other side has given any evidence to that effect, the parole board is selected by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. If they're picking people who are weak on crime, then we need to blame them and we can make them accountable in the election. Otherwise, I don't see that we need to be circumventing those decisions, especially given the fact that to keep a prisoner in prison is about $57,000 a year. This may cost about $28 million a year just to have people spend more time. I would rather see it, if somebody is not dangerous, having that money go to education, health care, even programs that help people who were in prison be able to come back into society and become a working member of it.
Okay, all right, Eric.
Well, Krista, you know how much I think of you, but I'm going to disagree, not on the merits of this one, but I know you've been beating the drum lately in your column, et cetera, on sort of the evils and excesses of the initiative process. To be sure, there are plenty of garbage initiatives, whether it's on this ballot or ballots in other years. Nonetheless, I will defend and be a proponent of the initiative process. As to these two initiatives, I don't think they're the most consequential ones on the ballot. Amendment I, as I think Tyrone has explained on previous show months ago, its purpose is to fix an unintended consequence of Colorado getting rid of the death penalty. This Proposition 128, yes, it would extend sentences, but only somewhat. I think there was an analysis I read yesterday says maybe adding 15 or 20% to some sentences. We're not talking about doubling or tripling sentences. Let voters have their say.
Curious about your thoughts about this.
Yeah, I think that there are some real problems with 128. And it's not so much the extension of the sentences, it's the taking away of the earned time or the good time. A violent offender, which the list of what is considered a violent offender in the Department of Corrections is actually longer than what this initiative would cover, starts off with 75%. And if they get to their 75% and the parole board thinks that they're maybe not ready to be released, a lot of times they kick their parole hearing for another year or two, and they end up doing that 85% anyway. At the Tina Peters sentencing, the judge went through all of the different sentencing factors, and two of those are community safety and rehabilitation. If on day one you're not incentivized, and never really incentivized until you're 85% of the way through your sentence, to try to turn your life around, to work things down, then what is that going to say about what DOC looks like for folks who maybe aren't in there for violent stuff, and what is that going to say about people who've essentially had no reason other than to just kind of phone it in for the first 85% and then start turning it around at the end to get released. We need to put people, after they've served their time, on a path to reentry, to being a productive citizen in our society.
Okay, Patty.
Well, that's a great assessment of that one proposal. But I have to agree with Eric, disagree with Krista. I, too, love the initiative process. I like it that you have citizens who can go out and if they have a cause that they think is just, if they have an idea that they think is important, they can push it, and they can push it as hard as they have. It's not that easy to go get all those signatures. The flip side, of course, is if you've got a lot of money, you might be able, we've got 131 on the ballot. If you have a lot of money, you can probably get something on the ballot. But this is also, so citizens can get things on the ballot, then it's also up to citizens to look at the measures and say, do we need these, do we not? So it's an active voting population. And I would also agree with Krista on this one, which is vote no on these two.
Thank you for watching this ballot discussion. The Colorado Inside Out team will tackle a measure every week right up until Election Day. Don't miss an episode so that you're all set to vote on or before November 5th.